there. Hi, this is Gifty from Baller Mom, and I'm back for the second time this week for my Baller Mom feature series. I'm rounding off this week with another special guest that is going to share her story, her dedication, and her reason why she's so adamant in supporting entrepreneurs, moms, parents in the sports field. She has a long history and well respected within the basketball world. Hi, Lamar. So I wanted to give me a few moments. I will invite Stephanie to get the ball rolling. So Stephanie, once you see the invite, accept it and we can get started. And everybody that's going to be tuning in, thank you. Hopefully everybody's having a good evening, a good day. With all the rain that we're having here, it's been crazy. But we will definitely make sure that we enjoy the weather as much as we can before the snow kicks in. And there she is. Hi, Steph. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Let me just put my volume up a bit. There we go. How's everything?
It's good. It's good. It took me a few minutes to figure out how to do an Instagram live, but,
It's okay.
But I got it.
I'm glad. You know what? It takes, as much as we think we know a lot about technology, there's just certain little gadgets that sometimes it throws us off, but that's okay. There's always a first time for everything. And I'm so grateful that you're here willing to share your stories for us to get to know you, your business, a little bit about your family. You are a baller mom and everything. And let's get the ball rolling. So introduce yourself. Who is Mrs. Stephanie Rudnick?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I am a mom, a basketball mom. I have 3 boys and I'm married to a basketball player as well. So that's really fun. So we're a nice basketball family. And I am the owner of Elite Basketball Camps. So yeah, that's what gets me up in the morning and fills my world with passion pretty much every day.
I love that. And so with having kids and your husband also within the basketball field, were you an athlete also?
Yeah, I played at the University of Toronto a little over 20 some odd years ago.
You're not counting, don't worry.
No, I stopped counting at year 20, so I don't know how many years.
I stopped at 25 and I just repeat the second anniversary of my 25th, third anniversary of my 25th. So
exactly.
It's okay.
Exactly.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
And was it basketball as well that you did?
Yeah. Yeah, both my husband and I played. He played at McGill, and then I spent 4 years at U of T playing for them. Yeah.
Wow. And how did you end up wanting to transition into the business side of it from being an athlete? Because most often everybody starts as an athlete. They want to start their own club or a league or train or anything like that. What was your transition like?
Well, I always had a plan. I was really focused. I actually didn't start playing basketball till I was in grade 9. So I was a late start.
Okay.
And I learned really quickly, but, when I was at U of T, I had started working summers at Upper Canada College. They ran basketball camps and I used to run their basketball camp. So my plan was to basically play my 5 years at U of T, then go play pro in Israel, then come back and start a camp. And it didn't quite work out that way. I ended up losing my father at the end of my 4th year of university. And at the same time, I injured my back quite badly again. It had been a number of years of chronic back issues. And at the end of my 4th year, I realized, after losing him and not wanting to fight anymore against, some spinal damage. So I pivoted, and a very good friend of mine convinced me to start my business in my last year of university.
Nice. You just muted out a little bit. I think you maybe Sorry, you just muted a little bit.
So
I ended up coming in.
Yeah, it was. My mother keeps calling.
Oh.
But yeah. Baller mom. So yeah, so I mean, in my last year of university, my year 5, I couldn't play basketball. I was still, trying to get grips with losing my father. And I had all this passion. And, as an athlete, you're so used to having so much focus on your sport. I really didn't know where to put that passion. So starting my business in my last year of university really helped with that. So I funneled all of that energy into, starting my business, which was amazing. I moved back home with my mother and, had an office in my bedroom. And, I remember getting my first phone call, answering, good morning, Elite Camps, wearing my pajamas in my bedroom.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So really,
That's
really fun.
amazing. That's dedication. That's
Yeah.
and no one. There's always a saying, people start in the garage. Businesses start in the bedroom too. That's
Yep,
okay.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
people always, they ask me, did you ever think this was going to be, as big as it got? And, the truth is, no, I think I just lived every day like an athlete and just kept chipping away at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, kind of grew and grew. It was,
Yeah.
I never really had a 5-year, 10-year plan. It was just keep doing, the things that make you successful, which
Yeah.
is hitting the pavement hard and working hard at it. That was it.
Yes. Dedication and hard work. I love that. So you've mentioned the business name, you mentioned the company name. Tell us a little bit more about the whole elite camp mentality. Like, how did you come up with the name and what does it encompass? So that when I think of elite camp, like what's the top 2 or 3 things you want me to think of and say, yes, this is definitely where I'm going to set my kids to because I know this is what you're going to get out of it.
For sure. Well, the really quick story about how we came up with the name, I was dating my husband, actually, who was not my husband at the time. But we decided, to go for a walk. And on that walk, we talked about what the name might be. I was sort of bouncing ideas off of him. And Elite Camps to me was a name that basically could curtail into any other sport. So it may not have just been basketball. I really wanted to think about maybe my kids might want to play another sport other than basketball, and maybe it would be elite football camp or elite tennis camp or whatever it may be. I wanted to leave it open to be able to diversify and go into other sports. But in the end, basketball is just
The heart.
my absolute heart. So we never ended up diversifying that way. But elite camps to me, I think the name of the company is misleading in one way because people think of, just high performance basketball. I really prefer to think of elite camps as something that is more about, the elite gift that we're giving to our athletes in terms of our high end quality instruction and the service that we provide. The reality is that, we pride ourselves in our production and, all of the safety standards. Safety is our number 1 core value. So really when parents send their athletes to us, they know their kids are going to be safe and they're going to get really, quality basketball instruction.
I love that.
At any level, whether they're a beginner or an advanced player. So to me, that's what's, when we say it's elite camps, that's the promise that we're giving to parents.
So you're thinking at the elite level, regardless of what your physical aspect is, but you can just be a beginner, but you're at the elite camp, but you're thinking that way. So you have that mentality already guiding you because of the services that you're going to get back. That's good because you don't want to go to just a basic place and just be basic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to think just only as a beginner. We all start somewhere to get to another level. So that's a great. I love the name because even when I heard of the whole aspect of camps, and talk a little bit about it because most often during the summer season, we do 1 week, you do 2 weeks, but it's all drop off, pick up, drop off, pick up. But you were able to pivot it in a way where they can actually go away for a certain period of time and then come back. So how did that come about?
So originally we first started in 1999, it was only day camps. So your typical drop off and pick up. And we did that for, I want to say 18 years. Yeah. And at one point I was approached by an overnight camp to sort of partner with them and run our camp at their location simultaneously. So I did that. We rented space and I started with 30 athletes and it was great. But then year after year, we doubled. We were really, kids really loved being at an overnight basketball camp, but we got to be so big that our camp competed, for space, and it just didn't work out. I would say after year one, I knew I wanted to have my own location and be able to create my own overnight basketball camp. So, about, I would say 10 years after we had our first rental of that overnight camp, we built our own in 2019. Yeah, so brand new piece of land, and we put in 5 outdoor basketball courts, an indoor gym, a dining hall, and 10 cabins.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is only for kids? Are parents allowed to come in there too? I mean,
well,
you
actually,
have like a wine bar or something somewhere
yeah,
on that side for us?
we do. We actually have family retreats. So during the summer, we do 8 weeks of overnight basketball camp. And then, in June and September and October, you can actually, come up and do a family retreat or a girls getaway.
Yes.
We also do team retreats. You can also have like a tournament up there. So there's so many different ways to experience the overnight atmosphere up at our Hoop Dreams camp. So lots of great spaces for
wow, that is great. Yeah, I mean, it's great being in the city, but just the idea of also getting out every now and then, even if it's just for one summer experience. I think that's something that parents and also the athletes can definitely benefit from. That you're there, it's just you, your coaches, and your team, and you're learning from it. You're in that environment. Based on where it's located, though, is it just only basketball, or do you encompass a whole different aspect of, the camp feel for them? So it's not just day in, day out, dribble practice.
Yeah, no, it is a nice blend. So like our 5 outdoor courts overlook the lake, which is stunning. So you are outside for all of the day, really. But there's a lot of other activities. Like we have a climbing wall where kids can learn how to rock climb. There's our whole waterfront program where they can canoe and kayak and stand up paddleboard and swim. And there's tubing and water skiing.
Wow.
Yeah, there's archery. So there's tons and tons of different activities. And, it's really great for kids because the reality is, as basketball players, it's important to develop other parts of your body, and it's great to have a break. So it's funny. Parents always ask me, how much time do you actually spend on basketball up there? And I say, okay, well, if there's 6 periods a day and the period 6 is at night, our first 3 are basketball, whether it's a game or skill stations. I go, but period 4 is an open period. Kids get to choose what they want to do. They can go canoeing with their friends, or they can go, go climb the rock.
Climb the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be a kid at a camp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then the interesting part is period 5, they get to choose what they want. Most kids go back to the basketball court, but it's unstructured. So, they're playing pickup. They're just shooting around with their friends. It's all supervised, but being able to go back, you really, for the kind of kids we get, the kids who just love to play, they often will choose to go back. And I always love that because you just put on the music and they just go. And there's something, there's something lost, this generation where they don't get a lot of opportunities to just play pickup and just shoot around and just play. Not everything needs to be organized. And they love it. Yeah.
I like that. Yep. Yeah. And Tanya here is saying that we were there. It was incredible. So yeah, great feedback on that too. Hi, Tanya.
Awesome.
I love that. Yeah. So I'm going to look forward towards that one day. And I like the idea of the girls getaway. So I'm going to checkpoint that. We may have to look forward on towards that site too.
Yeah, we can do a women's retreat, a women's basketball retreat. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with females in sports, like it's a great way to empower them to still stay active and be part of the whole sports community. Now, when it comes to the camp, what's the age group that you are catered to, like from the beginning to the end?
So we start at age 9. And then we go up to 17. Although, we do have an introduction, like a 4-day, 3-night for the 8 and 9-year-olds as well. So they can do a trial run at that, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
We offer like multiple programs. There's like youth camps and teen camps. There's girls only camps, which are really neat. And high performance camps as well. So it's an awesome opportunity for them.
And in between that, you mentioned that even teams can book a space to just have your own little team space, time for themselves, be with nature, but still doing the sports. That's another option to do so, correct?
Oh, absolutely. We had York University women's team, the Humber men's and women's. We had some club like rep teams come up there, and it's amazing because their coaches get to coach their kids,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the outdoors, but then they get to have a campfire and do some team building, right? They
Yes.
get to climb walls together. So the athlete that isn't necessarily the all-star on court can
Mm-hmm.
shine at other sports, right?
Yes.
They can have an opportunity to show their character and show what else they're good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not
Yeah.
necessarily always basketball.
It's not all. It's a great time to also have a team bond, like
Yeah,
just bond, get to know each other
yeah,
outside of the hardwood floor, wherever the court may be.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
like that. Like you just
Yeah.
go in and be a kid. And me, I'll
Well,
be a
yeah,
kid.
absolutely. And the nice thing about team retreats, like, it usually takes a full season, especially like that provincial championships where you're all staying at the hotel and you're really bonding together and
Yeah.
having these crazy fun experiences. Doing a team retreat together just allows you to like really like exponentially grow as a team and
Yes.
connect and bond super
Yeah.
early. So it's really a fun experience for a group to.
It is. And good thing
Yeah.
you mentioned about even the whole end of the season bonding, like staying at a hotel. Most often, unless you're a travel team, you only get that experience at the end,
Yeah.
right? Because while you're in the city, everybody's in their own car, driving there, then coming back,
Exactly.
driving there, coming back. So even though we're connecting, there's still a little bit disconnect in between of it. So having the opportunity to just be in one space, one facility, it's great. I'm like, I'm so glad you thought of that. This is it's
I'm excited
great.
to
And
have you up. You'll have to come up
yeah,
and
and
enjoy.
being a city kid, it's nice to get outside sometimes and see the nature, and then be
It
at
is.
one with nature, be at peace, and hear the water flow or the birds chirping. I
It
don't
is.
know, like anything to
Playing
just.
basketball under the stars is another one of my favorite.
Oh wow, never
Yeah,
even
so
thought of
all the
that.
lights are lit, and then really, you know, the stars up north, like it's just something else. You don't see the same thing when you're in the
No,
city. So it's
yeah,
really beautiful to be able to, play until about 9:15 every night. It's just beautiful to have a 3-on-3 tournament under the stars. What's better than that?
wow, I love that.
Yeah,
Well, I want to be there and just cheer one of these days for sure. Now,
absolutely.
another thing that we most people probably are not sure if they know about you already is that you're also a consultant for other entrepreneurs in the sports field that also trying to build a path for themselves and grow and give back. So speak a little bit about that and how are you giving back and helping those who are trying, because you've been in it for a certain amount of years, so you have the experience, you have the expertise, you have the knowledge, the pinpoints and all the joys of it. And for somebody who may have just found your passion and pivoted during pandemic and say, I want to give back. And maybe they don't have the 5-year plan. Maybe they have a 2-year plan, but they want to come to you, say, Steph, can you help me? These are my views. Or like, what are some of the things that you will say to them or you will go through with them to make sure that that passion is still in them as they pursue that particular path for themselves?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I started posting pictures actually on LinkedIn. This is how it all started about my journey of creating, our basketball overnight camp and actually what the build out looked like. And a lot of people reached out, one, because they saw the 5 outdoor courts and they loved it. And I
Yeah.
started getting, I can't even tell you how many thousands of messages about, oh, I really want to build one. And so I'm like, okay, I love one of my favorite, pieces of working at elite camps is mentoring our staff and helping people grow as leaders. So when people started reaching out, I started answering the call every single time and booking hundreds of meetings.
Wow.
And the reality is, what people need to, I guess, when they call me, they want to know how you do it. That's a loaded question. I think it's the way I try to answer it is through experience and sharing some of
Mm-hmm.
the pitfalls I've made, the mistakes that have happened and how I've recovered, so that they can maybe avoid those same mistakes. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't know where to start. They think they need to have, millions of dollars when really I tell them it's, you need to start building a reputation and actually running programs and just starting small and renting
Yeah.
space and building a name for yourself. And it's really hard to build a facility and try and throw all that money at something if you don't have any clients.
Yeah.
So when people are afraid to start, it's like basketball when there's a big score differential. You just chip away slowly, and
Yeah.
then then it's
It's
much
always
easier
there.
Yeah, it's much, much easier. And, one of the great things about the pandemic is that there's been so many new basketball facilities popping up.
Yes,
I'm so happy because, sometimes you need a little kick in the pants to do that. And unfortunately, the pandemic really kicked all of us basketball people in the gut and forced a lot
hmm
of people, if they wanted to survive, to be creative and put some money into where they needed to, which is finding a space so they could survive and still make money.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think that was a great byproduct of, COVID, if there could be any. If
I
there
know
is any.
there's pluses and minus, and everybody has experience, but in some ways there's a lot of blessings. I would say, as
Yeah.
far as we're here talking, seeing each other, there's still a blessing. So I'm always grateful for what it has taught me, or what the opportunity that it has given me, myself, and my family.
Yeah.
But I want to go back a little bit about not being afraid, because you're right, there is always that little itty bitty noises. We're all our own best critics often,
Yeah.
right? And in the world of social media, often leading a lot of different things that people do. You say you started off with just posting on LinkedIn. Most people wouldn't even think about it that way. It's like, wait, LinkedIn, that's just where you go to look for a job. Why would you
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
posting your dreams and plans, or what you're trying to do there? But that's great, because that's a different way of sharing where your views and passion and future is. There's so many different social medias out there. So your advice is just start small, right? Start small, build a relationship, get people to trust you and know you, and be accountable for it.
Yeah.
Now, what if the individual has gone through all these, and for whatever reason it's just not getting there, and they're seeing you there thinking, oh, you just made it. You already mentioned, you were doing the camp for like 18 years. 18 years is a whole child to an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not it's
Yeah.
not an overnight thing,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
what are some of the things where, if you get one particular client that's like, I know, Steph, I really want to, but and they keep using that word, but what are some of the key
Yeah.
words that you will say to them to say, take away that but and turn into something else? Because often we're stuck in that little cocoon. It's hard to break that cycle.
You know what? It is hard to break that cycle. What I like to direct people to do is also read a lot about other entrepreneurs. Like if you read Shoe Dog, the story of Nike, like how many times did that man almost go bankrupt? So
A
I
lot.
think, yeah, I think with social media, people often just see the end result. Like people don't know that it took me, I chased my building in Toronto for 10 years. I
Wow.
chased an overnight location for 10 years. Like it takes time, and there was a lot of heartache. Like there was a lot of failure. I put offers in, I tried other locations, it didn't work out. Like literally I tried 5 different ways to get the building that I have in Toronto, and like it literally over a span of like 10 years. And I heard no so many times. And sometimes you just have to be creative and just keep going after it. Like there's really, I wish there was an easier, or you know a, like a quick fix. But the reality is just knowing, and this is how I, again, speaking from my experience, when I ran into roadblocks, I really felt a lot more comfort after reading the struggles of industry leaders. Like you read about Amazon and that founder. You read about Uggs, and all of these entrepreneurs who ended up being really successful, and you would now look at them as incredible success stories, really
Mm-hmm.
had an epic number of failures and took many, many years to get where they are. And
Yeah.
you could say sometimes it's luck, but I don't actually agree. I think it's actually just, you just
Not
keep
giving
going.
up.
Yeah. And when people hear that little voice, and especially it's a really good idea when everybody around you tells you you're crazy or that'll never happen.
What
Like
are you doing? What are you trying
yeah,
to
yeah,
do?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I actually had somebody tell me to my face, I was in the middle of construction, and I told him that I was going to build 14 buildings, a septic and a water system in 9 months. And he says, "You will never do that, Stephanie." He looked me right in my eye. He's like, "That is impossible." He's
Wow.
like, "You're going to fail." And I'm like, okay. And of course I went home and I cried, but that burned inside of me for the
Yeah.
entire 9 months. And trust me,
Wow.
it wasn't easy. That was one of the hardest years of my life, and one of the, I would say, the toughest project of my life. But I did call him after it was done, and I did let him know that it did happen. He's like, oh, really? I didn't mean it like that.
Like,
So,
yeah, so be careful
yeah,
what you say, because
yeah.
you're in that mindset. The last thing you need is somebody saying the opposite to kind of bring you down. So
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think
yeah,
I look at it now, like when people say that I can't, I look at it as a challenge. And I also, I'm sure lots of players remember a coach or other players speaking poorly of them.
mm-hmm.
Like I remember very clearly, wanting to go to Western University, and the head coach, recruited me, but then ignored me when he had me at his visit. It was really upsetting. And I
Wow.
remember always playing well against Western when I went to U of T. So
You
when
want to dig
somebody
into
doubts
them,
you,
yeah?
yeah, when somebody
Yeah.
doubts you, it just kind of, you got to use that as the fire, as
Yes.
that lightning to your fire, so that you can actually go and execute that project. That's really kind of always been my thing, whether it was in sport or in business. When people tell me there's no way, I just
Yeah.
lean into that and want to prove everybody wrong.
I like that. So the passion. So for the other, trainers and coaches, I know a lot have started during the pandemic, because most of them's like, oh, I'm training here. Can I come? Can you send me someone here? If you're gonna watch this later, and whatever your future goal is, regardless of what the obstacles are, just keep pushing. Like, the main thing that I guess that drove you to want to start it, keep going. Because as Steph said, it's not going to be an easy path. You're going to have hurdles. It's life. We all
Yeah.
had a pandemic as the biggest hurdle in all of
Yeah.
humanity, right?
Yeah.
And we're still here. We
Yeah.
figured it out,
Absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
or they're still figuring it out. Who knows what's going on? But we're
Yeah.
still here. We're still breathing, and we're chugging along. So I like that part of it. And I think the fact that you didn't just build your own, and you find a way to give back and also share. And one way that I know you've done is also you wrote a book yourself. I know you mentioned a couple of books, and one thing I'm going to ask is, even afterwards, if you could just send me a couple of some of the books that you just mentioned, because I myself will need to
Yeah.
update on my bookshelf, get a little bit more knowledge, and see other people's
Absolutely.
stories. But you yourself have your own book that you wrote. Tell a little
Yeah.
bit more about that book, what it's about, what drove you to start it, and what is, the lesson behind it that we can get from it by reading.
For sure. I would say the book that I would highlight here would be The Life is a Sport.
Mm-hmm.
And originally I started writing, I started writing the book more for my children, to be honest with you. So
Okay.
when my dad passed away, he was such an amazing father, but he drove me to practice, he drove me to school, we hung out, we watched movies, but I never really, I was young when he died. I was only 21. And, when he passed away, I realized I actually really didn't know much about him. And it was already too late. He passed in just a few months, and I really didn't get any chances to talk about any life lessons that he might want to pass on. And I went nuts. Like I searched all over my mom's house for like a journal or a notebook or a letter, but there was
Mm-hmm.
nothing. So it kind of drove me a little bit crazy. And I had, young kids at this point. This was in 2015. And I was like, I've got to write a book, and I've got to write down all the life lessons I've learned through sport. Because, when I was running my business, I would always run around and tell my staff everything I learned about business, I learned from my sport.
Yeah.
And, when people sort of ask, well, what did you learn? Most people are like, oh, how to bounce back from a win. But I knew that there was so much more, because I really do believe I learned everything about my business and how to be successful in life through
Mm-hmm.
playing sport. And I wanted to write it all down. So I literally spent hours in my bedroom. My husband thought I was crazy, and I put up 4 large sticky boards, and I put sticky notes on the wall. So 25 story ideas for the good, the bad, the ugly, and the amazing life
Wow.
lessons learned in sport. So I brainstormed 101 different stories about all the life lessons learned through sport. And then what I did was I committed to writing 2 stories a day for 50 days. And I did that. And I basically, where the stories, they're all true stories of either my own personal experience or experience of athletes or staff that I've had that have, come and talked to me. And obviously all the names have been changed. But these
Yeah.
are all real life lessons learned through sport. And the funny thing is there were so many more story ideas for the the bad and the ugly parts of sport that I learned from, it was really challenging to come up with those 50 stories of the good and the amazing. So,
Wow.
I wrote that book in 50 days. And then, of course, it took a year to, edit and publish.
Publish, yeah.
But, I wrote it for my kids, and then I looked at it. It's like this 400-page book. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, this is going to help my staff. This is going to help my campers. And I'm like, this belongs to the world. So
Wow.
I published it, and my kids, of course, have never read it. They've never read it. They'll probably read
They
it.
live with you.
Yeah.
Or they hear you say it all the time, right?
Right. So they just, they're never going to read it until obviously I'm gone, which is fine, which was the whole purpose of it. But, I hope it brings comfort to families that, it's really hard being a sport parent. Like, I'm experiencing it now, and it's hard to watch your kids struggle. But
Yes.
if I could give parents any advice at all, it's the struggle that will help develop your child. And as much as it's hard, and I still struggle daily when my kids get hurt or they're, not experiencing success. God, it hurts. And it's just, I want to help so badly, but it's their journey. It's hard to watch, but the lessons they're learning are just invaluable. So that's really, I hope parents can take that book and, there's a story for everything.
Yes.
Whether it's forgetting your shoes before a game, or losing or getting a technical or feeling sick and not being able to go to practice. There's so many different things that you can learn from that book. So that really, that book had to be written.
You should call it the life and times of a baller mom and baller kids and baller families and just sports. Literally, it's day to day, in and out. Trying to get out of traffic to get home so you can make it in time for game or practice, and then stuck in traffic and you're just like, oh my God, am I going to make it? Yeah, just literally. Crazy. Those are great lessons. And I'm going to look forward to reading that because that's something that I'm sure I can definitely relate to. So I will also share it for the other moms to read. It's short and simple, and it's always good to read and also expand your knowledge because, as I always say, one person's experience may not be that unique to one person, but there's others that may learn from it or are also similar to it too. And that's what we are. We're on this journey together, helping them out to, get their dreams and do what they want to do. But you said you have three boys.
Yes.
Yes. So yes. Boy moms connection here.
Boy moms.
Are they all in basketball as well too?
They are. I swear I tried putting them in other sports, but it just didn't take. It just didn't take. No.
How does the scheduling go for you then between the three? Because if they're all three different ages, different age group, different levels, different like timing, everything, how does that work for you?
Well, you got to go from man to man to playing zone when you have a third, right?
Good point.
Crazy. Yep. Thank God for family. I mean, my mother-in-law and my mom, they help drive a lot as well. My two older boys are away in the US, so that this year is the first year where we actually have just one at home, which is so bizarre. But yeah, having three is a challenge, and I think parents, being in the industry where parents are signing up for sport and they find it a challenge, they want to go just next door to make it, to make it convenient. But sometimes in sport, especially at the high performance level, sometimes your kid isn't going to make the team that's around the corner from your house. And it is a big commitment. My parents made that commitment for me. They drove me everywhere, like all around the city, really far places so I could achieve my dream. And, I always tell my kids, I'll never complain. Just promise me you're going to do the same for your kids so they can pursue their dreams. So it is definitely difficult. We're driving lots of different places. My husband and I pass each other in the hallways and say, where are you going and what's going? And it's a lot of coordinating. But it's well worth it for sure.
Yeah, I know the experience where they have two games, different locations, and you're just recording and sending to each other. That's all it is. Just giving score time and in the end, come back home safely and continue the next journey. So yeah, it's a team effort. And again, I mean, there are some other parents, I know they're in the early stages. They're going through starting house leagues. They're starting, basic training. And some of the fears is like, what if I can't drive them there? What if I don't have a car? I don't want to do Uber all the time. So those are things to be aware of.
Also single moms, right? Like one of my best friends is a single mom and she has two kids. And, if one of them has provincials of the same weekend is a dance provincial. Like it's very stressful.
It's hard.
You know, it is really difficult, but I think, you know, she manages by leaning on family, but also on friends, on teammates for carpooling. You know, I think I remember my parents coming to a lot of my games, but not all. Every one they could, they did. And they were, you know, most often there. But when they weren't there, I never thought, oh man, my parents aren't here. You know, like I always felt, you know, really loved. So I think when parents get really stressed that they aren't going to see their kids, they should give themselves a break.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. They will come home and they'll tell you how they did.
Exactly.
It's okay. So don't feel so bad on that.
Don't feel bad.
Tapping along again on the parent side of it for your program, you mentioned you start from like 9 to about 17 at different levels. So for a parent who's just started, you know, what are some of the things that your trainers or your coaches will go through with them for them to do an assessment to say, okay, yeah, I really want to continue, or yes, my child really wants to, or they pushed me and I don't know, or I'm pushing them, I don't know. Like, what are some of the things that you will go through with them so that they can say, okay, yeah, we're going to complete this sign up, or we're going to do a 2 weeks, we're going to do a 4 weeks, just so that they're in a comfortable position, because sometimes it's your first time that they see the big TV screen and Raptors won, and all of a sudden basketball is the number one thing, and I want to get into it, but they don't know much about it. So I'm signing up for the first time and I know nothing about it. What are some of the things that you go through to make sure that the connection is there?
Well, I think there's two parts to our program. Like our city program starts at age 4, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, our day, like, so we do weekly lessons and leagues and all those types of things in Toronto. And our overnight camp, you know, they start, let's say, at 8 or 9. So if you were a day camp parent or like a weekly lesson and really at 4 years old, you know, what are the benefits? So this is my favorite topic, because when I originally started elite camps, I started at 7. But when I had my first son, you know, he was 5 years old and he's like, Mom, I want to play basketball. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sweetheart. Mommy's camp starts at 7. And he looked at me, he's like, Mom, I want to play basketball. So I was like, okay, who am I to say no? So I rented a gym and I ran a program for 5 and 6 year olds, mostly my son's friends.
Wow.
And what struck me as amazing was that, you know, at that young age, the muscle memory develops really quickly. And the earlier you start them, the better they become. And what I noticed was the kids that were in that program all of a sudden had these, you know, really unique skills earlier than the 7-year-olds. They would go to gym class. Their parents would tell me that all of a sudden they're way better than their peers in gym class. They're actually like, and they're playing basketball. Their confidence skyrocketed in the playground, and all of a sudden their kids started being labeled as athletes.
Wow.
So, you know, it ended up being one of our biggest programs. But the reason why I think it's so important for parents to put their kids in early is because, you know, that's my dog, by the way.
That's okay.
You know, the reality is that when you give them the muscle memory early, you're setting them up for success in elementary school, in gym class. All of a sudden, they're being labeled as athletes. Sorry.
That's okay. We can say hi.
Yeah, say hi, Goldie. You know, they're being labeled as athletes and they want to continue. They want to get better. They want to work harder. So it's success breeds more and more success. So, you know, the earlier they start, and I'm not talking about playing rep level basketball here. I'm talking about teaching them how to have proper, you know, dribbling skills, how to handle the ball and keep their head up. Just that alone, and practicing that 1 hour a week it makes a huge difference for kids. You know, and then teaching them the proper shooting mechanics as well. You know, and then they, you know, the 4-year-olds turn to 5-year-olds, and then that's another year of basketball training. And then by the time they're 7 or 8 or 9 and they go into reps, they're so much further ahead. You know, and it's not that you can't catch up, right? Like if your kids start at 7 or 8, it's not like you're, you know, at a total disadvantage. But the kids who start at 4, it's like anything. Like, why do Canadian parents put their kids in hockey at the age of 2 or 3, right? It's because it's really simple, the 10,000 hour rule, right? So, you know, your decision to put your kids in as early as you can in our weekly lesson program is helping set your kid up for success and for them to identify themselves as an athlete because they have that coordination. You know, if you put your kid in hockey, That's great. They'll be great on the ice rink, but will they be good in a gym? Which is a lot of their self-confidence at school comes for how they perform in their gym class,
Yes, yes.
right?
Friday,
So that's a
every
big
Friday
deal.
is gym class, so I
Yeah,
definitely hear that's when
yeah,
when it's school
yeah.
because that's
What's happening in
it's
the
fun.
playground, right? Like there's no
Yeah.
hockey rinks in the playground. There's basketball nets, right? So
Yes.
that's a status thing for kids as well. When it comes to overnight camp, the biggest thing for parents is understanding, who's gonna watch my child,
Mm-hmm.
for us, we follow 400 standards written by the Ontario Camping Association. And there's
Wow.
standards for waterfront, there's standards for land sports, there's standards for kitchen, there's standards for absolutely everything. So, when parents are unsettled, I typically do a presentation
Okay.
where in the past pre-COVID I would actually go to the home or to the gym and do a question answer, but I'll also do a presentation. Parents need to know where their kids will be sleeping,
Yes.
who's going to be supervising, and we take supervision really seriously. Like there's always a counselor in every cabin at all times, like even during rest hour and even at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a counselor in the cabin the entire time. We don't take time off. Like there's shifts, but there's always an adult
There's
in that.
always somebody. Okay.
Absolutely. And the kids are tracked. We have a tracker at camp that works on, the emotional health of kids. If there's a
Nice.
kid that's, homesick, like there's reporting every night. The coach in that cabin fills out a sheet about the day that the kid had and
Wow.
talk about, were there any struggles, any homesickness, did they jam their finger, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
then, they write that report and I get it and we look through it. And if there's any issues, we call the parents and we let them know, like this person, he's not having a good time or he's struggling in this. He lost all of his socks, whatever it may be.
Shit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So or maybe he's not really eating as much. What can
Mm-hmm.
we do to, what he's a picky eater? Great. What does he like to eat? That type of thing. So a lot of stuff is that way. And parents, they really, I think the difference between us and a lot of other camps is that we look at overnight camp as an overnight camp, and basketball is, although it's our focus,
Yeah.
you know,
It's part of it.
basketball is part of it, but safety and emotional health is really the biggest part for us. And overnight camp, it's a big piece, right? So if you can't provide, families with the understanding of how the day breaks down, how their kids are being supervised, what they're eating, it's really hard to convince them to come. But once they hear that there's a nurse on site, an athletic therapist on site,
Wow.
so there's a real chef, and it's really good meals, salad bars,
Probably better treatment that we would have been going through at home during the summer break.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
I
and the
like that.
fact that there's no technology, we don't allow phones at camp,
Wow.
so it's a complete disconnect.
Unplugged.
Yes,
I
and
like that.
parents sometimes freak out. Oh my God, I can't access my child. But the reality is they can write to you. We have a letter writing system where they can write a letter. We scan it to the parents and the parents can scan us a letter back. And there's also, we post photos of all the children every day. There's like hundreds and hundreds of photos. So they can actually experience the athlete's journey as well.
With it. Okay.
So it's
So
really,
parents still have the vision, like a window to it, even if you're not physically there.
exactly.
But that they're in good, secure space and they're good. Wow, I like the unplugged part of it because we need that. Everything is so go. Sometimes all the notifications, totally unplugged and see what's going on.
It only takes them about a half a day. They constantly try and reach for their phones in their pockets. They can't find them because they're not there. But after that half a day, it's like phones never existed.
Wow. I like really that.
Great. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have to sign up for the full 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 1 week? Like what are the flexibilities in there? Because depending on each child and what the family dynamics are, you might want to just do 1 week and then the other week of the summer do a family outing or something. What's the flexibility on that side?
Yeah, so all of our sessions are 1 week long.
Okay.
We have one session that's 4 days, 3 nights for a beginner, somebody who might not be comfortable coming for that full session. So you could do a shorter run. We also have a leader in training program where we train, those 15, 16-year-olds. That's a 2-week program, but all the other programs for the ages 9 till 17 are 1 week programs. So they can do one. Sometimes most kids will do one and then extend. They'll call home and be like, this was awesome. I want to come. I want to stay. But a lot of kids will come for 2 weeks. That's usually the sweet spot. But we've had kids stay for 4 weeks, 6 weeks. They love the staff. It's a really nice community for sure.
Yeah. And I know there's one of the staff that you added to your roster, Michaela, well respected, well known coach, athletes and everything. So how do you go about deciding the staff aspect of it to make it, like, is it a male to female, like 50-50, right, or a type of student, some type of campers coming in? Like, what's the ratio? Because for instance, if I have boys, is my camp leader going to be just a female, or is it going to be a male, or a consistency? Because some kids, respond to different gender and different age differently, right? They will see me as old, but they can connect with another 16-year-old, let's say, right?
For sure. Well, in the cabins, so I would say that there's definitely a lot more males that come to camp. We always have, so if there's 10 cabins, there's usually 2 female cabins. Okay. In those cabins, like, it's girls only, and like female only staff, like no matter what. In the cabins, it's always gender, like it's male or female cabins. That's it. So like, and girls are not allowed in boys cabins. Boys are not allowed in girls cabins, period.
Right.
That is a hard rule, and that you can be dismissed from camp for. Yes, we take that really seriously. On the court though, so they have their cabin coaches, like there's 2 staff for every 12 kids. So there's 14 people in a cabin. So, you've got 12 kids, 2 coaches. Those are the people in your cabin. But when you go on court, that doesn't mean you're with that same group. So, let's say youth camp is co-ed, right? So youth camp, let's say there's 48 kids in youth camp. There's 4 teams. You might have a male coach and a female coach. Like, it's mixed. Okay. Right. So you're getting
at the outdoor doing the activities, it's mixed. It's just the privacy is there, is unique to each individual person.
And those people in your cabin are like your camp parents, right? Okay. So they sit at the table with you in the lunchroom. So they know if you're eating, they know if you're sleeping, they know if you've made friends, if you're socializing well in the cabin. And then you have your coaches on court that watch you play and teach you basketball. And you have other people, who teach you canoe kayak and things like that. So there's lots of different people in their world.
And is it grouped by age based in a cabin, or do you mix it up as well?
Yeah, no, it's by 2 years maximum. So 10 and 11s, depending on how all the ages break down. But we like to only put like within 2 years. I won't put somebody who's 10 with a 14-year-old. That just won't do. The conversations are very different. We like to keep it within a year. So yeah, that's but on court they are mixed. So they're mixed. Youth program. We get a mixed bag of athletes. So what we'll do is, although it's mixed, we'll divide. We'll watch them play. We'll assess their skill, and then we'll divide by skill level and age.
Wow. So there's still that opportunity to still get your physical activity going, even though it has a basketball theme to it. You still get other sports experience. You learn, I will assume, probably fishing or something like that along the line too. Getting involved in nature. But at the end, you also get to play the game that is what is driving you to go in there. And you mentioned that your other kids are away for school in the States, and there's one left. What's the path? Are you also looking for them to go forward as well? Because eventually, a lot of parents, like, why do I want to send them away? I want them to be here. They want to go to school, university here. Like, those mindset are always thinking of how far can I guide my child, and how far can I let them go? Like, based on from a sports mom perspective, like, what was some of your decision making in saying, okay, this is where your path is. I've done enough. Now let's go on to the next level. Right. And you're not cutting the cord, but you're still guiding them from a distance, doing something that they love.
Yeah. I think my guiding light has always been, my kids have always watched me pursue my dreams. So I'm very supportive of their dreams. So whatever their dream may be, and I usually do a yearly check-in, like, do you still like playing? Do you want to play sport? It's a lot of time. I'm like, you can quit. I'm like, you can quit. I'm like, I don't care, as long as you're working out, every day. Like, I don't care what you do, but what are your goals? And their goals have been to play D1 basketball for as long as I can remember. So I'm willing to support that goal no matter, what it takes. I definitely, my son went last year to Governor's, which is a prep school in Boston. And, I was willing to let him go during COVID to pursue his dreams. And it was hard and it was scary, but how can I say no to pursuing their dreams when all they do is watch me pursue mine?
Yes.
So it's it has to align with what, if they're going to watch me do that, I want to support them as well. So as long as they're willing to put in the work, and study and get good grades and make sure the school is there, I'm willing to support them whatever way I can. My younger one, my middle guy, asked me to go this year, a year earlier than his brother. So my middle one's only 16, and he turned to me and he said, I know it's late, because I had asked him if he wanted to go, and he said no originally. He wanted to stay one more year here. He turned to me and he goes, Mom, I don't think there's going to be basketball here this year. And he was really worried. It was very late. It was like April. And I'm like, oh man, Jer, I don't know if you're going to, it's a bit late to do this. But he's like, I have to. He's like, or I won't be able to, I've already lost a year and a half. He's like, I won't be able to do my dream. And I couldn't say no. I'm like, look, if you can get the funding, if you can get that subsidy, then I'm willing to support you. And I did. So, I think I'm proud of them for, going somewhere foreign in a different country and, living the dorm life, and they're both maintaining great grades. So, they're upholding their end of the bargain, and they're actually home this weekend for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
So excited. And, they came back men, right? Like they do their own laundry. They take care of their own logistics. It's pretty amazing.
That's great. Wow. That's like one of the goals that, everybody's trying to get to, especially, and I'm always thinking of my moms are like in early, just starting at 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old. And it's like, just enjoy the journey, because we're not sure as far as they can see, this is what they want to do. Let's continue to support them. Right. And I think based on your experiences and what you've gone through, sharing your pinpoints, your excitements, and telling that person and sticking to them, say, hey, yes, I'm going to do all this in 9 months. Hey, you carried 3 boys in 9 months. You can build this in 9 months.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, watch me do this. And I like that. I like that tenacity of not giving up and giving that momentum to keep going. And the fact that you're so selfless and also giving back and sharing it and passing it backwards, so others who want to get to that level can also learn from it. Where else can we get a little bit more information about the camp, your facilities, or anything else? If anybody that's just happened to tune in, it's like, oh, who is that? Oh, I want to know a little bit more. I want to connect with her. I want to get my son to be, or my daughter to be in her program. Where can they reach out?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, whether they want to be a camper or a staff, they can reach out and just go onto our website, just elitecamps.com, and everything's there. Really, you can access me, you can access our staff. Like it's really, we're pretty easily accessible. I think my biggest thing that I don't know that you know of yet is that I started a charity called Elite Camps Cares. And that,
no, but yes, do talk about that.
Very, very excited about that. Because I know, you mentioned giving back with respect to helping other entrepreneurs. To me, Elite Camps Cares is a charity that's meant to help families, get access to camp. Because I think that, and other programs as well. I think having a financial barrier, especially during this recovery from COVID, it's going to be more important than ever. And, in the past, I would, be helping families, the few at a time, but being able to raise money and be able to give people a charitable donation receipt and help. There's so many amazingly generous people that want to help kids get into sport. To be able to offer that support to families is so important. And I'm hoping, my lifelong dream is to be able to send like 100 kids to overnight camp for free. Kids that couldn't otherwise afford it. Because I really do believe in the power of being, up north in nature combined with basketball and our amazing leaders. There's just nothing better. So for me to be able to share that, all that information is on there as well. We're going to be accessing athletes through clubs, through rep teams. So, if there's a team, like if there's a club that, needs kids to get funded. We'll be reaching out to a whole bunch of clubs, and if there's clubs out there that need funding for kids to go to overnight camp, we're just starting our fundraising campaign.
Yes.
So I'm hoping
Yeah,
to be able
you know what?
to
Just
do as
send it
much as
to me. I'll help spread the words out as well too, because like I always say, each
possible.
one reach one to teach one backwards. Actually, it was probably your friend Sharon Butler that taught me that in learning to give back and not
Yeah.
just being all about it. And I think it's great because as much as we want them to be, comparing hockey to basketball, there's a big financial difference in it.
Yes.
But there are good talent kids out there that want to, but for various reasons, finance being one of them, they can't pursue it. So having this charity and this opportunity to help and get them on the court and still be moving, like that's great. That's like the kudos to you and your team for coming with that. And the more the better, right? Because the more kids we get them out doing this, the better it is to pursue it. Like you said to your kids, learn from it and also continue that journey and give back as well too. Anywhere else that we can, in terms of social media, like I know you mentioned LinkedIn. I think it's just probably where you're most at. And thank you for coming on Instagram. This is where I live most of the time anyway. So, but at least we're still connected, which is great.
And I'll message you offline too, and
yes.
we'll set you up with some of those books and definitely information about a women's weekend. Yes. And of course, definitely want to have you up there.
Yes.
For yourself.
You got to do that for sure. I wanted to round off my last question as a final icebreaker, ice ender, whatever you want to call it. I'm so bad with this. Last question. Great. You already wrote a book. You haven't, you have different inspirations or people you've read into their stories and everything like that. And one question I would like to know is, if you had one more superpower, you've done so many going on, what would that superpower be and what would we call you? Because I love Marvels, I love DC Comics, I love all these superhero things. I'm just wondering, like, if you were to have that one superpower, what would it be and what would you call it?
To me, honestly, I've been obsessed with Superman and Supergirl my whole life, and Wonder Woman. Like, I just honestly, Supergirl and Wonder Woman, you pick. I love them both. I think maybe Wonder Woman would be my thing. I love her. I love what she does and what she stands for. And I think, just helping people. I love the whole Marvel selfless type of mentality. I just think helping others that, need that help, because everybody needs help at some point, even Wonder Woman. Right. So I think when you're a baller mom, and, I think all moms are, Wonder Woman. Raising children is hard. Balancing work and kids and family is difficult. And I think, everybody's a Wonder Woman and can wear a cape, to be honest with you.
Yes, so. You do your Superwoman pose before you come online.
Right.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, I got to go wash my face, refresh, do my pose, and then come in and start, that elevator pitch where you just stand there, and just ready to go. Yes.
And I love, Wonder Woman and all superheroes go through trials and tribulations. And I think, anybody who pretends to be perfect all the time is not being real. And I think it's important for youth and parents and new moms to realize that, like, it's, ups and downs, just like the sport journey, and just like a superhero, you're going to have some dark times, but there's always a chance to rise, if you work together and have great people around you to help pull you up. That's all you need.
Yeah, assemble like the Avengers and we're gone. Exactly. Literally. Well, thank you so much, Steph. I really, really learned a lot. I'm so grateful for you to sharing your story. I look forward to hearing more from the foundation, the charity, and how else we can also help those who are trying to get in to get their kids active, and the more the better, especially after what we've gone through with COVID. The more kids we get them into the sports and going to camps and getting that experience, the better it is. I'll leave the last word for you. Anything that you want to say, this is yours.
To anybody out there, whether it's an athlete or entrepreneur, my favorite quote, I know you had that question, was to me, really is crave the results so intensely that the work just doesn't matter. It's by Tim Grover. It's words to live by for me. Hopefully it helps you achieve anything you want in your life.
And who's that? The quote again? Tim Grover.
Tim Grover. That's actually Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's trainer.
Wow.
Yeah, he wrote a book called Relentless. I think you would love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start my whole update my my bookshelf all through
There you
your
go.
references here because this is good. This is
Awesome.
awesome. Yes. So
Awesome. I
thank you
appreciate it.
so
Well,
much.
thank you. Thanks for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night and thank you everybody for tuning in.
See you
Bye.
later.